Hi, Armoured Pants here, and I have another video for you in the Japanese line, the Tier VIII, the STA-1, and as always we have a complete guide for you. We will look at the tech spec first using blitzhanger.com as always, which is a fantastic asset for all blitzers. Now, this tank, the good news about this tank is that it is significantly better than the Tier, the dirt box you had to play to get here in Tier VII. And that is very good news, but it's still not a really good tank, I have to say. It is effectively a light tank, but it's down as a medium. So it has all the bad things that a light tank has, but none of the good things. So the bad things, the armour, low caliber gun with relatively low penetration, and it doesn't have any of the good things. For example, the improved camo numbers, active camo when you're moving, the improved view range, etc. Although this tank does have a good view range, as you can see, it's 302 meters. And I would definitely recommend that you max that out. It has the same gun depression as the Tier 10 degrees. The gun itself is actually not bad, it's quite accurate like all Japanese guns. It's 90mm caliber, and it has pretty good pen on the heat, and okay pen on the AP. You will go through most things and you'll see that in the game. But it has little or no armour, and therefore you are a HE magnet. If you've ever played an RU-251, you will know what a HE magnet is, and this is pretty much the same. Everything will pen you, and almost all things will pen you with HE, especially at the sides and back. So you are just a magnet for that. So be careful, because you need to keep yourself out of trouble, because this tank is extremely unforgiving. Also, unlike the RU, while it has the same armour profile, it doesn't have the same speed. This was 45 kilometers an hour, 20 backwards, so it's not really that fast. It's just more or less average, and therefore that's why I say it's not a good tank, because it's inferior to its peers like a T-44 or a Panther II. It's just inferior to those because it has similar kind of reload, maybe not as good, it has worse armor, and it has the same speed. It has the same armor profile as you'll see here as an RU-251, but it doesn't have the speed of an RU-251. It's not as low profile as an RU-251. It doesn't have the same penetration as an RU-251, and it doesn't have the same reload as an RU-251. So therefore, that's why I say, in my opinion, it is inferior. And that's why I say that as a better tank than the Tier, it is still not a good tank. Now, you can see there on the turret that you may get some angles going, but this cupola is a killer, right? Because it has 10 degrees of gun depression. You may hide the hull. You can see that the gun mantle takes up a large portion of the turret, but then you have this cupola sticking over the top, and that is what will be penned, especially by experienced players. You can see the tracks are exposed, so run 2 repair kits, because you do not want to be tracked out in the open in this thing. You will die very quickly. So you need to have 2 repair kits so that you can get out of there should you be tracked in the open. Again, just looking at the armour here, you can see that there isn't really anywhere where it's protected. It has this big exposed backside, these lumps sticking out the back of it. The turret has the elongated part of the back where the ammunition is kept, and you'll see here that looking at it, even against a lower tier 7, it's penned everywhere. So you are a shell magnet, and in particular you are a HE magnet. So in terms of tactics, I mean, it says peekaboo, long range sniping, circle of death, etc. I would suggest that you played very similarly to the Tier and the Cheeto before that. Try to ambush tanks, try to come up behind them on the sides. You do not want to go front on this tank. Long range sniping, it's not bad. We use refined gun and supercharge to get the muzzle velocity up, and that will help with that. So if you can stay concealed and fire from distance, it will help a lot. It has almost 1200 meters per second of muzzle velocity, which is not bad at all. So let's have a look at the gameplay. And I think this game is a good example of how you can play this tank effectively. Also, I get into trouble in this and I use simple mathematics to get out of it, and I'll show you how that works out. Now, I've checked the setup and I think that it's safe for me to go to B. If any of you have seen the Panzer IV-S mastery game I put up recently, this is a similar tactic I use to that game. So instead of going to A, which is where the enemy might expect you to go, I go to B, and that allows you to do 3 jobs. Cap B, spot up the enemy and farm some damage from a relatively protected area. So I am going hell for leather now. I'm going to try to get to B. When I say B, obviously this is not a supremacy game, but where B would be if we were playing supremacy. What I do now is I'm going to where normally I would be in B, and I'm going to spot up the enemy and farm some damage. Also, I can move into the base and start capping, which is going to distract the enemy as well. So basically you can do 3 jobs here: cap, spot and farm. And if we were playing supremacy, of course I would be capping B as well. So now I'm able to put in some damage across here. I've spotted up the enemy. I'm able to fire across from a relatively safe position here, just popping out, putting in some rounds and supporting my team. Now I'm going to get into a bit of trouble here because while I'm distracting the enemy by capping, I'm also giving away my position, and the AMX comes up and decides to push onto me. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to count his shots and I'm going to count the reload, and I'm going to use basic mathematics to get myself out of this position. Because normally what people do in this situation, inexperienced players, they will let him reload. I don't. I know he's on a massive reload now, almost 20 seconds, so I push on into him, drop the adrenaline, and I'm putting rounds into him now. I know he can't hit me back, and it takes 16 seconds for me to clear him, so it's with 4 seconds to spare on his reload, almost 4 seconds to spare on his reload. So just look at the instant replay here. An inexperienced player or somebody who is not confident would sit back and let him reload, and then you would die. But by being aggressive and using simple mathematics, simple basic addition and subtraction, I know that I can come in here safely, clear him off, and that's a dangerous tank from your team, cleared off, and I even have almost 4 seconds to spare. So there you go, mathematics, you can't beat it. And you can't argue with it either. Now I don't want to face up to the T-54 on my own, especially with only 600 hit points left, so I decided to go back and see if I can support my team, and there we are, some targets present themselves. Now by going to where B would be on a supremacy game, the centre of the town, I completely distracted the enemy, I split their forces, and I also was able to put in significant damage onto them. I actually cleared the AMX etc. So I think I did a very good job for my team. Plus I spotted up the enemy, which, as we've discussed before, particularly when we're looking at lights and mediums, is your job when you're in a medium or light tank. Now I would like to take on the T-54 from this position. As I said, the best way to take on a tank in this tank is from the sides or back, and when he's not paying attention to you. And that's what I can do. Now I've dropped adrenaline again. I'm putting in some rounds onto him, helping out my allies, helping out the Tiger P, the VK101P, and we're able to clear him. Bit of zoomed in driving there. That shows you what you get. I recommend that you don't do that like me there. Do as I say, not as I do. Now we're 3v3, but I come up, I'm in a good position here. I'm able to clear this IS, make a miss, come back again, nice simple shot into the lower plate, miss it, make a total mess out of that, get a really lucky bounce there, as you saw, hit him in the same spot again, and this time it goes through. Now it's 3v2, and we're going to come down and clear this IS this time. Bam, cleared him, and now it's a 3v1 situation, so we really have put ourselves in a very good position to win this game. And now it's just a matter of cleaning up the last tank, which, as we can see, is the T-44. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to try to use the superior gun and muzzle velocity that I have to put some rounds into him. I know my allies are coming too, with more or less the same hit points, so I'm confident that I can clear him off as well. Where is he? Where is he? He sees me, he's going to come down. Probably sees the STA-1, knows he's a superior tank, and probably thinks he's going to clear me off. Make a miss. And then I'm going to let my ally take a chunk of him, and I just wait for a reload, and there we go, clear him off as well. So there we go, 5 kills in the STA-1, a lot of XP for spotting, and really I think a good example of how to play this tank to its strengths, because it doesn't really have that many strengths. So Mastery Badge delivered almost 3.9k damage, almost 4k damage, which is not bad at all. Plus a lot of XP delivered for, so you see the base XP there is 1.25k. And a lot of it is down to the spotting. You can see here all the spotting I did for the team. You get a lot of XP for that, and a lot of damage as well delivered too. But I think more or less a good example of how to play to this tank's strengths. Going into a position where you can spot, going into a position where you can farm some damage, and then of course some simple basic good medium tank play. When I got into the fix there with the AMX and could easily been killed myself, being confident enough, knowing about the other tank and using basic mathematics to know that I can clear him off quite safely with 2 or 3 seconds to spare. And I think that's a very good example of how knowing other tanks in the game, knowing their capabilities, strengths, and knowing their reloads allows you to be more effective and to help your team out. So let's recap on the key points. This is a below average tier 8 tank in my opinion for the reasons that I've explained, and I think it's weaker than many of its peers. That said, it is better than the tank before. It has an average gun, but definitely not as bad as the previous versions, which, as I said, I believed had tier 5 guns in tier 6 and tier 7. I would use supercharge to get that muzzle velocity up and use refined gun to reduce the penetration loss over distance. At 5.89 second reload, it's not that bad at all, and you saw when you drop the adrenaline, really can farm some damage. The armour is 0, so basically like an RU-251, so HE rounds are incoming in your direction, so be aware of that. You need to keep out of trouble because you can take very little damage because everything will pen you. And if you're up tiered, by the way, you really need to be careful because there's going to be some big guns out in the field then. It has average medium tank speed, 45 kilometers an hour. As I said, it's not great, and the tank handles a bit poorer than its peers. So therefore, ambush tactics are the best use of this tank. Getting it in position, keeping yourself safe, trying to attack other tanks from the side and the back. Don't go front on in this tank because you will suffer. If you do get into trouble, try to either run away, get into cover, or as I did there, use mathematics to get yourself out of trouble. But of course, that's not always possible. Now, next up is the Type 61. There's no hurry. This is also not a particularly great tank in Tier 9. But I mean, it can compete, but it's not great at all compared to its peers. I mean, if you compare it to a T54, forget about it. But nonetheless, if you're going all the way up this line, you want to play it, so we'll have a review of that too. And it will be on channel soon. So cheers Mush, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you found it useful. And I guess all that's left for me to say at this point is thank you and pants off.